Well, a new report says that taxpayers may never get back the money used to bail out Chrysler and General Motors. That report is from the Congressional Oversight Panel that's overseeing the government's TARP program. Now, the chairman of the panel is Harvard Law professor Elizabeth Warren, and she joins us now. Professor, thanks so much for being with us.
Glad to do it.
And just to remind our viewers, I mean, we've put in about, or American taxpayers have put in about $65 billion into the two automakers. How confident are you that the taxpayers will not get back that entire sum?
Well, that's actually the estimate of Treasury itself. But, you know, we have to remember there were really two investment periods. We put in a lot of money early when there was no real plan about what was going on. This was last November and December. Henry Paulson injected money into the auto industry, really because it just seemed on collapse. Then the question became in January, February, are we going to let it go? Or are we going to try to do something? Are we going to invest? And that's when Treasury moved in. And they said, you know, we're going to do it, but boy, we're really going to be tough negotiators. And they were. They said, we want to see an entirely new business plan, a completely different model. We want you to get rid of some of the top management. We want to wipe out the shareholders. You're going to have to make the debt holders take a haircut.
Right.
You're going to have labor concessions. You're going to have to go through Chapter 11. And that's going to be the price for getting any access to taxpayer money. By golly, those things happen. They ran a tough bargain. And for the money invested then, there's a good chance we're going to see that back. Ultimately, however, I put it this way. It really depends on what happens to the auto industry going forward. You know, the American taxpayer, for better or worse, is now an investor. And if it goes up, if things go well, then the taxpayer could see its money back.
Right.
But if it doesn't, then our losses could be substantial.
Right, and only time will tell. But as of now, though, do you think the Treasury Department is making the right moves in trying to get the car makers back on track?
Well, so we think that the Treasury Department actually did a very good job in negotiating the deal that gave the auto industry the best chance of survival. They were tough on behalf of the American taxpayer. But now we're in a different phase. And here we are, the majority owner of GM and a substantial owner of Chrysler, and Treasury saying, well, we want to become passive investors. We don't want to use any of the leverage of our position. We don't want to have shareholder activism in any way, shape, or form. What the Congressional Oversight Panel recommends is that we understand why Treasury doesn't want to be in that position, but we recommend that there be a trust established and that the shares be held in trust, completely separate from the government. Let it be independently managed for the benefit of the American taxpayers, and let the government go back to doing the things the government does.
But how is that going to actually free the automakers from political involvement, though?
Well, the idea is it takes the Treasury Department and the political influence, the people who wield political influence, away from any management of those shares of stock. And it gives us two real advantages. It creates a bit of a curtain so that Treasury itself can say, look, we aren't involved in this anymore. We don't have anything to say about the management of this company. It also means that there's someone who can manage the exit strategy, making the decision about when to sell those shares of stock. And they can make that decision solely as an investor.
Okay.
You know, we ended up in this investment position, and so our view, at least as the Congressional Oversight Panel is, then let's maximize it as investors.
Professor, as you can tell, I'm out of time, but thanks so much for joining us. Professor Elizabeth Warren, and we'll be back, the opening bell.